The rain fell in steady waves, tapping against the windows of the quiet cafe. He sat alone at the corner table, staring down at the coffee in front of him. It had gone cold, untouched, but he hadn't even noticed. His mind was elsewhere, somewhere lost in the past, in memories he had tried so hard to leave behind. It had been years, but some things never truly faded. The way she laughed, the way she looked at him when she thought he wasn't paying attention. The way he walked away, believing it was the right thing to do. He had told himself he had moved on, that leaving was necessary, that love wasn't enough. But fate had a strange way of proving people wrong. The bell above the cafe door chimed, and a gust of wind rushed in, carrying the scent of rain and something else, something familiar. He didn't look up at first, but something in the air shifted. A feeling, an instinct, like the world had just pulled the rug out from under him. And then he heard a voice. Soft, hesitant, asking for coffee. His heart stopped. Slowly, almost afraid to believe it, he lifted his gaze. And there she was. She hadn't seen him yet. She stood at the counter, her fingers brushing over the rim of her cup as she thanked the barista. Her hair was different, slightly shorter. But her eyes, the same eyes he had once memorized, hadn't changed at all. He gripped the edge of the table, unsure whether to speak, whether to move. His mind raced, remembering the last time he saw her. The hurt in her expression when he walked away. The silence that followed. Did she hate him now? Did she ever think about him the way he still thought about her? She turned then, scanning the cafe as if searching for a place to sit. And that's when she saw him. For a second, neither of them moved. The past crashed into the present, and everything he thought he had buried came rushing back. Fate had brought her back into his life. The only question was why. She stood there frozen, her fingers tightening around the coffee cup. He could see the way her breath caught, the way her expression shifted from shock to something unreadable. He wanted to say something, anything, but the words tangled in his throat. For a moment, it felt like time had rewound, like they were back to where they had left off. But they weren't. Too much had changed. She blinked, then looked away, as if gathering herself. He watched as she exhaled softly and took a hesitant step toward him. He hadn't expected that. "Hey," she said finally, her voice quiet, cautious. He swallowed. "Hey." Silence stretched between them, heavy with everything unsaid. She glanced down at the empty chair across from him, then back at him, waiting. He nodded, and she sat, setting her coffee down gently. He didn't know what to say. Where to begin? "I didn't expect to see you here," she murmured, running a finger along the rim of her cup. "Me neither." It was the truth, but it felt like a hollow response. She nodded slowly, her gaze drifting toward the rain outside. It's been a long time. It had. Too long. But sitting across from her now, it felt like no time had passed at all. The familiarity was there, tucked beneath the awkwardness of reunion. "How have you been?" he asked, even though it felt like a ridiculous question. She let out a small laugh, one without humor. "Good. Busy. You?" "Same." Another pause. The weight of their history sat between them, making every word feel fragile, like one wrong move could shatter whatever thin thread still connected them. She took a breath. But she stopped herself, pressing her lips together. He leaned forward slightly. "What?" She hesitated, then shook her head. "Nothing. Just, I didn't think I'd see you again." He knew what she meant. When he walked away, he never imagined this moment. He had thought that chapter was closed for good. And yet, here they were. There was so much he wanted to ask. Had she moved on? Was she happy? Did she ever wonder about him the way he had about her? But he couldn't ask. Not yet. Instead, he said, "Are you still?" He stopped himself before finishing the sentence. She tilted her head slightly. "Still what?" He shook his head, brushing it off. "Nothing." But she saw through it. She always had. I work in publishing now, she said, filling the silence. Editing. He smiled slightly. I always thought you'd do something with books. She smiled too, just barely. And you? Still in? Yeah, he said before she could finish. Still the same. She nodded, as if she had expected that. The rain continued to fall outside, the cafe humming with quiet conversations and clinking cups. It felt like the world had moved on, even if they were stuck in this moment. I should probably go, she said suddenly, gripping her cup as if to steady herself. Something in his chest tightened. He knew he should let her leave. That was what he had done before, wasn't it? Walk away? But this time felt different. You don't have to, he said, before he could stop himself. She looked at him, searching his face. He saw the conflict in her eyes, the same one he felt inside. I don't know if this is a good idea, she admitted softly. Maybe not, he agreed. But you're here. She let out a breath, staring at her coffee as if it held the answer. Then, after a long pause, she looked back up at him. And stayed. Away. His voice was quiet, almost like he was admitting something he hadn't allowed himself to say before. She looked at him, studying him for a moment. Why? He exhaled, fingers tapping against the side of his cup. I thought it was for the best. Her lips pressed together, as if she were holding back a reaction. For who? He didn't answer right away, and that said enough. Outside, the rain had slowed to a drizzle, the streetlights casting a soft glow over the wet pavement. The cafe had emptied out a little, leaving only a handful of customers lost in their own conversations. She leaned back slightly, running a hand through her hair. You made that decision on your own. He nodded. He had. She let out a small, humorless laugh. And now what? Fate just throws us back into each other's lives, and we act like none of it happened? I don't know, he admitted. But I do know I never stopped thinking about you. Her breath hitched just slightly, but she covered it well. You don't get to say that now. He nodded again, accepting her anger, her frustration. He deserved it. But that didn't change the fact that she was here, sitting across from him, when she could have walked away the second she saw him. The silence stretched again, filled only by the faint hum of the espresso machine behind the counter. Are you happy? He asked finally, his voice softer now. She blinked at the question, as if she hadn't expected it. What does it matter? It does. She exhaled slowly, looking down at her hands. I don't know, she admitted. Some days, yes. Others, I'm not sure. The honesty stung more than he expected. What about you? She asked after a moment. He thought about lying, saying he had moved on and found peace. But looking at her now, he couldn't. Some days, no, he said simply. She looked at him then, really looked, and for a second, the tension between them softened. But before he could say anything else, her phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at the screen, and something in her expression shifted. She hesitated before picking it up. I have to take this. He nodded, watching as she stepped away, her voice quiet but tense as she answered. He couldn't hear the words, but he could read the body language, the slight stiffness in her posture, the way she rubbed her temple as she listened. Something had changed in her life. He could feel it. When she returned, her expression was carefully composed again. I should go. Is everything okay? She hesitated. It's complicated. He wanted to ask more, but he knew she wouldn't tell him. Not yet. Will I see you again? He asked instead. She didn't answer right away. Then, finally, she sighed. I don't know if that's a good idea. And yet, something in her eyes told him this wasn't the end. She walked away, just like he had once. But this time, he wasn't sure he could let her go so easily. He watched her walk away, feeling the weight of the moment settle deep in his chest. The rain had stopped, but the night air still carried the damp chill, wrapping around him as he sat there, staring at the spot where she had just been. She had left again, But this time, it wasn't the same. This time, he wasn't the one walking away. By the time the sun set, he found himself outside the cafe where they had met. It was a long shot, but a part of him hoped she might come back. The city was busy, people rushing past, lost in their own lives. He was just about to leave when a voice behind him made him freeze. "You shouldn't be here." He turned. It wasn't her. It was the man she had been speaking to the night before. The guy was tall, well-dressed, with the kind of cold confidence that set off alarm bells. "Excuse me?" he said, keeping his tone even. The man studied him for a moment, then took a step closer. "She's got enough to deal with. You showing up like this? It's not helping." His jaw tightened. "Who are you?" The man smirked. "Someone who's trying to keep her safe." He felt his fists clench at his sides. If that were true, she wouldn't look so scared every time you're around. The man's expression didn't change, but there was something in his eyes, something dark. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Then explain it to me," he challenged. But instead of answering, the man took a step back, slipping his hands into his pockets. "Stay out of this." His voice was calm, too calm. "Or you'll regret it." He watched as the man turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowded street. His gut told him one thing: this wasn't over. And no matter how much she tried to push him away, he wasn't going anywhere. The tension in his chest tightened as he watched the man disappear into the night. He had a choice: walk away, like he had before, or step forward into whatever trouble she was in. This time, he knew there was no turning back. His phone vibrated in his pocket. When he pulled it out, he saw her name on the screen. For a second, he just stared. Then he answered. "Where are you?" There was silence on the other end. He could hear her breathing, shaky and uneven. "I need your help." His grip on the phone tightened. "Tell me where you are." She hesitated. Then, in a whisper, she gave him an address. He didn't think. He just moved. The city blurred around him as he hailed a cab, his pulse hammering with every second that passed. When he arrived, he found himself standing in front of a dimly lit motel on the outskirts of town. Room 214. His heart pounded as he knocked on the door. A second later, the lock clicked, and the door opened just a crack. Then he saw her eyes wide, fear shadowing her face. She pulled him inside and locked the door behind him. "I didn't know who else to call." His gaze swept over her. She looked exhausted, drained. But what made his stomach twist was the faint bruise on her cheek. His voice was low, controlled. "Did he do this to you?" She swallowed hard, looking away. "It's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is." She hesitated for so long he thought she wouldn't answer. Then she let out a slow, shaky breath. "I got involved with the wrong people. I thought I could handle it, but her voice broke. He won't let me go." His jaw tightened. "The man I saw you with." She nodded. "His name is Adrian. I owe him something, and he doesn't take no for an answer." "What does he want?" Her hands trembled as she ran them through her hair. "Money. But it's not just about that. He wants control." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "And I'm scared." He reached out, gently taking her hands in his. "You're not alone in this." Tears welled in her eyes, but she blinked them back. "I don't know how to fix this." He did. He turned toward the door. "Stay here." She grabbed his wrist. "No, don't go to him." But it was too late. He had made up his mind. He found Adrian at a high-end bar downtown. The man wasn't surprised to see him. "You should have listened," Adrian said, swirling the drink in his hand. "But I knew you wouldn't." "I'm here to settle this," he said, voice steady. Adrian smirked. "And how exactly do you plan to do that?" He leaned in, his voice a quiet threat. "She's done with you. And if you come near her again, I'll make sure you regret it." Adrian chuckled, amused. Brave words. He took a slow sip of his drink, then set the glass down. But this isn't your fight. It is now. Adrian studied him for a long moment, then exhaled. Fine. I'll walk away. The words were too easy, too smooth. And then, Adrian added, but you won't like the price. The next night, she was packing her bags when she got a call. A deep voice, cold and calm. He thought he could make a deal. But I never lose. Her blood ran cold. Then the line went dead. She ran. She didn't think. She didn't plan. She just ran. The phone slipped from her fingers, clattering onto the floor, but she didn't stop to pick it up. Her heart pounded in her ears as she grabbed her bag and rushed out the door. The night air was cold, stinging against her skin as she moved, her breath coming in uneven gasps. She had no idea where to go. All she knew was that she had to find him. She dialed his number, her hands shaking so badly she almost dropped her phone. It rang once, twice. Then, "Are you okay?" His voice was tense, sharp with worry. She swallowed the lump in her throat. "I got a call. He said you made a deal." "What did you do?" Silence. Her heart clenched. "Where are you?" Still, nothing. Panic gripped her. "Please, tell me where you are." A deep breath on the other end. Then finally, his voice calm, steady. "Meet me at the bridge." The bridge. Their place. The place where everything had started and where it had all fallen apart. She ran through the streets, ignoring the way people turned to look at her, ignoring the way her chest burned from the effort. She needed to get to him. She needed to know he was safe. When she finally saw him standing there, leaning against the railing, relief flooded her so fast it nearly knocked her off balance. She slowed, her breath ragged, her vision blurry with unshed tears. He looked up, eyes meeting hers, and in that moment, everything else disappeared. She took a step closer. "Tell me what happened." He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "It's over." She frowned. "What do you mean?" "I made sure Adrian won't come after you again." Her pulse spiked. "How?" He hesitated, then shook his head. "It doesn't matter." "Yes, it does," she insisted. "What did you do?" He exhaled. "I gave him what he wanted." Her stomach twisted. "The money?" He nodded. "And a promise to stay out of his way." She stared at him, heart sinking. "So that's it? You just walked away?" He met her gaze, something unreadable in his expression. "The only thing that mattered was keeping you safe." Tears burned at the back of her eyes. "But what about you? What about what you wanted?" A sad smile played on his lips. "What I want doesn't matter." She shook her head. "No, that's not true." He looked away, staring out at the water below. "I lost you once. I wasn't going to lose you again." A tear slipped down her cheek. "And now?" His jaw clenched, as if he was fighting something inside himself. Then, finally, he turned back to her. "Now that's up to you." Her breath caught. For so long, she had been running from the past, from her mistakes, from the feelings she never fully let go of. But in that moment, she realized something. She didn't want to run anymore. Slowly, she reached for his hand. His fingers curled around hers, warm, steady, real. She took a deep breath, her voice barely above a whisper. "Then let's start over." His lips parted slightly, as if he wasn't sure he had heard her right. She gave a small, shaky smile. "No more running. No more fear. Just us." A beat of silence. Then, finally, he smiled a real, genuine smile. And just like that, everything changed.